Happy Black History Month, gamers! It's your favorite them fatale, Jinx Oge here. I've noticed that certain fans deem black characters in fantasy, RPG games, or in video games as a whole as quote-unquote woke, and would rather see these characters take a back seat or simply not be in these stories at all. Or in some cases like Genshin Impact, a game series that's notorious for not including any black characters in it, steal ideas from black content creators for monetization, and continue to not really include any black characters in their huge lineup. For me, I love many characters of all colors, genders, and sexualities across all RPGs. A good story's a good story, but sometimes it can feel like fair-skinned characters are the standard, especially for leads where the stories revolve completely around them. But there are RPG games I've played and even enjoyed that envision entire worlds and plots without melanated people in them. And black players, while we can relate and enjoy these stories, it doesn't seem like we're given the same grace when it comes to storylines that include us, let alone how they can be received or related to by non-black players. And over the years, it can feel like there's intentionally a limited amount of space for us in the genre, if at all at times. So sometimes, when we do see ourselves in these games and genres, it can really matter seeing us in meaningful roles in RPGs or fantasy storylines. A perfect example of this is told by Anne Rice when speaking about the late singer and actress Aaliyah playing the titular character of Akasha in Queen of the Damned. I think we're committed to Akasha being played by a black actress. I'll tell you why. Though she was not described as black in the books, it makes sense that an ancient queen might well have been black, as there was no color bias in ancient times. And Aaliyah playing Akasha in the Queen of the Damned movie encouraged a lot of black fans to take interest in my vampires. We were told by one beautiful young black woman that before she saw Aaliyah in the Queen of the Damned movie, she had felt pretty much shut out of fantasy and the fantasy genre. Many fans of color do dress up as Akasha in costumes that Aaliyah made famous, and that has deeply moved me. I am grateful for the response of those people of color, and I have learned something from them. So I would like very much to continue the tradition of Akasha as black. I think it's a beautiful idea. It's moments like this I'm really grateful to have grown up with some of these characters in video games, because without them, I could have easily felt like RPG fantasy doesn't include space for people like me. The same way I did at one time when I felt marginalized by the D&D community when I played back in the early 2000s. Before we get into it, disclaimer. Some of these characters' blackness is left open to interpretation. Some are ambiguously brown. Some characters can be multiracial, and some can very well be an entirely melanated race altogether. I'll do my best to place some of these characters in the ambiguously brown category if I'm not sure, but if I make a mistake, please respectfully let me know in the comment section below regarding said character and their respective race. I would really appreciate that. So without further ado, let's smash that like button and dive into all the black characters in RPG games. Starting off this list at number 1, we have Barret Wallace from Final Fantasy VII. Barret makes this list not only for paving the way for being a prominent black RPG character in the 90s, but also for having a very moving and underrated storyline, while also a part of the legendary PlayStation 1 hit, Final Fantasy VII. You can also find Barret in spin-offs like Advent Children and Dirge of Cerberus, and the remake games, and also in many other guest appearances in the franchise. Coming in at number 2 is Pokemon and its world of many characters. Time of recording, Pokemon is at the forefront of RPG games for having consistent black characters in their entries. From NPC trainers, team leaders, and even some ambiguously brown characters sprinkled in too, let's get into some of the more prominent characters, mainly focusing on the gym leaders, Elite Four, and Kahunas. First off, we have Lenora, the normal type gym leader from Nakarine City. She was in Black and White, and Black and White 2, and Pokemon Masters X. Black and White and Black and White 2 also introduced Marshall, the first black Elite Four member who specializes in fighting type Pokemon. He's also in Pokemon Masters as well. Moving on to Pokemon X and Y, we have the rock-type gym leader from Silage City, Grant, and he is also in Pokemon Masters as well. And we're still in Pokemon X and Y's Kalos region, and the Psychic-type gym leader of Anistar City is Olympia. And last from X and Y, we have an honorable mention, and while she isn't a gym leader, she does appear in Laveri City Gym, not only in the game X and Y, but she also appears in the manga and the anime, so I felt she was a unique enough character to give a mention, and this is the Ferisode girl, Blossom. She's also a model for the fashion designer and gym leader Valerie. Next up, in the reimagining of Pokemon Sapphire, we have Alpha Sapphire, and in this game, all of Team Aqua is reimagined with brown skin, dark skin, either they're black, Blasian, or very melanated. The call is yours. You let me know in the comments below what you think. But Archie, Matt, and Shelly all have a very beautiful redesign with darker skin, and I'm here for it. I think it beats their original designs. Next up, we're moving to Pokemon Sun and Moon and Pokemon Ultra Sun and Moon, and we have the Trial Captain from Panolia Town, the Fire-type Specialist, Kiawe. Next up, we have fan favorite Island Kahuna and Elite Four member from Koni City, the Rock Specialist, Olivia. She also has a bit of a romance with Gym Leader Brock in the Pokemon anime. Next up, we have a fan favorite from the Galar region in Pokemon Sword and Shield. She is the Water-type gym leader Nessa from Hulberry City, and let me tell you, she is one of the most beloved gym leaders, and she has one of the best character designs in all of Pokemon. Next up, we have Raihan, the Dragon-type gym leader from Hammerlock. In time of recording, the most recent entry of Pokemon's mainline games is Scarlet and Violet, and we have the Ghost-type gym leader from Montenevera, Rhyme. And she's pretty awesome. She's a rapper, y'all. Last and certainly not least, from Scarlet and Violet's DLC, The Indigo Disc, we have an Elite Four member by the name of Amareus, and she is a Steel-type trainer. One of the things I love about the Pokemon games is their diverse set of characters, and frankly, it never felt like pandering to me. Just everyone felt super interesting and colorful and just unique. Many games nowadays could take notes from this. Especially in Japanese-based games, because more times than not, they focus on a white protagonist or a fair-skinned Asian protagonist. And I've played many games where I explored an entire world and not a single melanated race exists in it. So thank you, Pokemon. As a gamer, I really appreciate that. Next up, we have the Zodiacs from Virgo vs. the Zodiac. In this RPG game, we have a sizable chunk of the cast as black characters with some amazing character designs, from Leo to Libra to Sagittarius to Aquarius. I myself am looking forward to playing this game based on the character art alone, so if anyone out there has played this game, let me know in the comments below. Next up, I want to talk about a pretty important character when it comes to black characters in RPG games, and that is Marissa from Eiyuden Chronicle 100 Heroes. I also want to cover a few of the other cast members as well. So I was one of the many people backing this game on Kickstarter before development started, and during this time, we were allowed to take surveys expressing what we'd like to see in the game, and given Eiyuden Chronicles is the spiritual successor to the Suikoden games, known for their enormous cast of characters, my friend Chris and I expressed we wanted an even more diverse set of characters from all walks of life. And we got that with one of our three leads, Marissa. So I have a confession. Despite me backing this game up, I haven't played it yet. But I have a good reason. I wanted to wait to play this game for the Marissa story DLC that is said to greatly flesh her out as a main character. It was intended for the release of August 2024, and time of recording, it's January 2025. So at this point, I might just play the game and play it again once her DLC comes out, and I have no problem with that. With that said, I think a lot of folks find Marissa as an important character because we typically don't see black women as one of the main protagonists in RPG games, let alone one as successful as Eiyuden. She even has plushies, keychains, and merch outside of the game. There's also other characters that join the team, like the trustworthy teammate, Wave, and one whose design I adore, Leon Lasude. I actually can't wait to play as them. You know how we all can be when browsing through characters and we find one we like. With that said, I want to thank the dev team for actually listening to our requests and incorporating more black characters into this world. This list wouldn't be complete without visiting Sanctuary from the Diablo series. Since day one, Diablo has always had a naturally diverse cast. In Diablo 1, one of the three playable characters is the Sorcerer. In Diablo 2, we have the Paladin. I would mention the Sorceress, but I'm pretty convinced that she's Indian coded or ambiguously brown at the least. In Diablo 3, we get to play as the Witch Doctor, and in Diablo 4, all characters are completely customizable, but the main representative for the Barbarian is black. We also have a handful of characters in the story, such as Drognan, Jamila, Tyrael, Thaisa, and Mother Prava. One of the things I always admired about Diablo is that it told a dark medieval story and created a rich and fully realized world where people of all backgrounds and colors fight the forces of evil. Who here remembers the wizard and sorceress from the action RPG game Gauntlet? This is truly an arcade classic. The leading black mascots of this game are the wizard from Gauntlet Legends and the sorceress from Dark Legacy. With that said, every character can have a black variation if you choose the yellow color palette, which is nice because sometimes players identify with how a character looks and not based on the class. And in a 4-player game like Gauntlet, which is better with more players, that's a pretty cool incentive. Marvel has had countless games to represent their comics, and many of them are RPGs featuring a slew of notable characters such as the Queen, the Goddess, the leader of the X-Men, Storm, the half-vampire Blade, the King of Wakanda, Black Panther, along with other Wakandans such as Okoye, Shuri, Nakia, M'Baku. We also have the time-traveling mutant, Bishop. Miles Morales is Spider-Man too, along with Avengers and other crime fighters such as Captain America, Luke Cage, War Machine, Ironheart, Valkyrie, Misty Knight, Monica, Cloak, Dr. Voodoo, Nick Fury, and even villains like Mordo and Killmonger. I'm pretty confident there are more I'm missing, but you get the picture. This could be an entire video by itself alone. You can play as these characters in X-Men Legends, Marvel's Ultimate Alliance, Midnight Suns, plus a whole lot of other mobile app games like Marvel Strike Force for good measure. So, the Suikoden, or as many of us call it the Suikoden series, have a few black characters for the party. In Suikoden 2, we have Lucia, the leader of the Karaya clan from the Grasslands, which seem like a group of people who are black and indigenous. We also have Hauser, a general from the Muse army, and next we have Hugo, who is the protagonist from Suikoden 3, who appears as half black and half native indigenous. Also, we have Alia, who joins the party as well. There are also a few others from this group such as Anne, Bicham, Jimba, Luce, and Lulu that are worth mentioning that lean more ambiguously brown, but make this list because the group seem very biracial coded for the most part. And lastly, to my knowledge at least, we have Nakia from Suikoden 5. Let me know in the comments if I missed anyone, because given how many characters this series has, it's very possible. So please, comment down below. While we're on the topic of characters who seem to be inspired by black and native indigenous culture, let's dive into the Shadow Hearts series. Ever since the days of Blockbuster Video Rental, I've always been curious about this franchise. The character designs and the art directions are very strong and just really suck you in. One of the characters in the game is called Shania, and she has the ability to change forms, this ability called Fusion. While Shania is clearly Native American, I can't help but to place her in the category similarly to Michelle Chang in the Tekken series, who's of mixed descent as well. We also have Lucia, who is a fortune teller from Italy who puts on shows and captivates with her beauty and charms. And as a dancer and tarot reader myself, I really dig the representation with her. Gotta love it. This next one is interesting because I couldn't find much info on it. The game is called Faselei, and its lead heroine's name is Dorothy. She's a soldier who has a crush on the male lead show, and she's described as chill, tough, and has heart. And even though I couldn't find much info on this game, you gotta love Dorothy's character design. Look at that. If anyone knows if this game's worth tracking down and playing, let me know in the comment section below, because I really love her just based on its design alone. Ah, Dark Cloud. It's a PS2 classic. In this game, we have a tribal man who joins the party named Ungaga, who fights with a staff, and a genie named Ruby joins the party as well. Ruby is debatably Arabian coded, but I put her on this list given she's ambiguously brown. Either way, they're both fun to play, and if you're a fan of the PS2 RPG era, give Dark Cloud a go. So, this next one, No Kuni Wrath of the White Witch, surprised me. I remember first seeing the cover of this game and thinking it was another Japanese game making a world with all white characters that save the world that includes every fictional race under the sun besides holding space for melanated people. To my surprise, this game was animated by Studio Ghibli and has a black woman described as a queen of heaven named Kulan. This also made me really happy to know there are black characters in Studio Ghibli's works that have pretty designs, so I might just have to pick this game up and give it a shot. Next, let's talk about the people of Final Fantasy VII that aren't Barret, one of the most popular being Rude of the Turks. I've heard a few different theories that he may be Latino, Malaysian, Afro-Latino, or a very dark-skinned Asian man, and depending on the character art or media you're looking at, you may be valid, but I've always seen Rude as black, so I'm going to include him here. Let me know in the comment section below what you think he is. Speaking of Afro-Latino characters, I'm going to spotlight the people of Costa del Sol. The remake has added so many more black NPCs, most notably Queen Blood's reigning champion, Regina Konigan. I love her character design, especially her pink hair. We also have Koch, if you remember him from Don Corneo's mansion as well. And a small but random change I noticed was how Mr. Coates went from this to this. I'll leave that one up to the comment section below to fill me in behind the scenes on what happened here. But the standout for me is we get to see Barret's wife, Myrna. She is really beautiful, and I'm glad we got to explore this a bit more this time around in Rebirth. So the next game is one I found while researching characters for this video, and I fell in love immediately based on the cover art alone, and that is Tales of Eternia. I was really excited to play this game, but to my dismay, it's locked behind the PSP, and I don't have one. But these character designs alone had me wanting to know more about this game, these characters, and the world. And that's huge, given I've played a couple of Tales games and I never could really get into them. Maybe I'm just playing the wrong ones. Comment below what Tales games are good to start with, because the ones I played felt like bland, generic anime adventures to me. So let me know. Anyways, back to Eternia. Given I'll have to wait for the remaster or watch the anime or watch a YouTube playthrough, I'll be loving the character designs of this game and a brief synopsis of I know of these characters in the meantime. Let's start with Merity. She has the full, beautiful textured hair. She has the pastel pink magical girl ensemble motif. And y'all know that is usually designated for the white fair-skinned girl of the group, and I am totally here for it. Plus, it seems like she's either a lead or plays a very important role in the story as a party member, and I really am just curious to see what she's all about. Then we also have Chat the Pirate, who is just adorbs, and seems like the party gets to use her ship to maybe travel the world. But the character that caught my attention right away is Shizel. She is giving me Black Girl Magic of Sorceress Edea/Ultimecia vibes. I don't care what in the time compression her story or motives are, I want to see her win and I'm rooting for her, even though I believe she is the antagonist of the game. With that being said, I did see a little bit of the plot, and it seems to kind of parallel Ultimecia and Edea a little bit. With that all said, I really want a chance to play this game. The world seems really fun and colorful, and I love the sprite-based artwork and vibe. If anyone has played this game, definitely let me know in the comment section more about it and if it's worth playing. For more appearances from these characters, you can find them in Tales of Vesperia, Tales of the Rays, Tales of Symphonia, Tales of Crestoria, Tales of Esteria, and Destiny of the Twin Stars. Next on our list, we have Final Fantasy IX's axe-wielding bounty hunter, Lani. It's debatable that Lani is ambiguously brown, but I'm gonna say she's black given there are a few black folks in Gaia, most notably the cooks in Alexandria Castle. So by that logic, there are going to be black women in the world too, especially given some of Final Fantasy IX's concept art did incorporate more black characters in the world. And I've always loved Lani's character. Personally, I felt she should have joined the party over Amaranth, and given how adamant she was for trying to hunt down Princess Garnet, it would have been a much better arc for her to grow to actually side with the party for the greater good over Amaranth's apathetic view in the party, which didn't add much to the plot. Or at least Beatrix and Lani should have been secret characters like Yuffie and Vincent. If you agree, leave a comment below with the hashtag #JusticeForLani. Next on our list, we have Eternia from Am Setsuna. Okay, I'll be honest with you guys, I had mixed opinions on Eternia's blackness, so she might just fall into that category of ambiguously brown. But I felt we should include her on this list given many players consider her to be black. Alright, in the depressing story of Am Setsuna, the story seems to take a lot of inspiration from Final Fantasy X. Eternia is a mysterious character whose story really unfolds after she joins Setsuna's team on her pilgrimage. There's a lot of spoilers and I don't want to ruin them here, so go play it for yourself to see her storyline. Next on our list is Luz from Vandal Hearts, Flames of Judgment. One of the main party members in Vandal Hearts, Flames of Judgment, is a knight named Luz Valenci. And while the Vandal Hearts franchise has its following amongst the tactics game players, this entry in the series received a lot of mixed opinions given how much has changed since the glory days Vandal Hearts had on its PS1 days. Next up is Wintermoor Tactics Club. Wintermoor Tactics Club stars a black lead who is a D&D player named Alicia. The story takes place in a school and the battles take place within the D&D fantasy world. And given the D&D player stereotype is primarily seen as straight white men, having a black woman as a lead is a bold statement that women and black folks play D&D too. The game doesn't stop there. It also boasts a pretty diverse cast, reminding us that D&D is for everyone. Especially even to this day, the D&D landscape still has a way to go when it comes to inclusivity, whereas in Wintermoor Tactics Club, naturally integrates characters of all backgrounds into its world. Up next, we're going to visit the Atelier series with Miyu Sexton and Ramaj Bremer, both exotic women, with Ramaj being a traveling dancer from Atelier, the Alchemist of Solberg II, and Miyu Sexton's being an adventurer who appears in Atelier Marie, the Alchemist of Solberg, and its remake, Atelier Ellie, the Alchemist of Solberg II, and Atelier Marie, Ellie, and Annis, Message on the Gentle Breeze. She also appears in other spin-off titles such as Atelier Marie GB and Marie and Ellie Two People's Atelier. I'm actually about to play the remake of this game with Miyu, so I'm purposely avoiding too much information about this one, but I hope you'll give this one a go too with me. Up next is Princess Lion from Saga Frontier. Saga Frontier is one of my favorite video games of all time, and Princess Lion is a gray area antagonist from Aselis' storyline. She is a mystic princess, which is similar to being the equivalent of Dracula's bride. And as the strongest of the princesses, she is sent to track down the other princesses who have escaped Lord Oraluj's realm, given how he sees them as his possessions. Princess Lion makes a great boss battle and really stands out, not only within Saga Frontier's amazing cast, but in the entire Saga series as a whole. I highly recommend this game. For more Princess Lion, you can find her not only in the Saga Frontier game, but in the mobile game Romancing Saga Reuniverse and the card game Imperial Saga. Next is another entry from the Saga series, Unlimited Saga. Myth is one of our leading protagonists who is an inventor, but everything changes for him when he sees a picture of a mysterious silver-haired woman. The previous owner of this picture is a supporting character named Grace, who is a noblewoman and accomplished mage, particularly in water magic. She joins Myth's journey to find the silver-haired woman, and spoiler alert regarding the silver-haired woman's identity, but her name is Feydalgin. She is one of the planet's original races. So, honest confession about this game. As much as I love the Saga series, I remember playing this game on the PS2 and not gelling well with the Mario Party style board game RPG hybrid experience. And at the time it really turned me off and I didn't get a chance to even know the stories of these characters. With that said, I'm open to giving it another go if we get a remaster or remake of sorts, because I do love the Saga series. With that said, if you want more of Myth aside from Unlimited Saga, you can also find him in the mobile game Imperial Saga as an obtainable character, and as a cameo in Emperor Saga. He's also featured as a card in the Saga compilation trading card game. The Indivisible world has a cast of characters from many different ethnicities, and that matters because you have no idea how many times I've seen games applaud themselves for having a diverse cast and not a single black or even tan-skinned character in the cast. Just look at the Smash Bros. Roster for an example. Indivisible has a well of interesting characters that join the party that are black, ambiguously brown, biracial, and all in between. Most notably, Dar, Zara, Thorani, Antoine, Caldi, and Narcissus. Definitely give this game a go and check it out. Up next is Kyros from Final Fantasy VIII. Final Fantasy VIII's world has a few Black Seed students at Blom Garden, but Kyros from Laguna's past timeline is a reoccurring guest party member. And this was probably my first actual RPG game I've ever played. So all the characters in it, the world, the cutscenes, the plot, all hold a special nostalgic place in my heart. I know a lot of people criticize it for its junction system, but I don't think it's that bad. And the flashback sequences with Kyros, Laguna, and Ward are very charming and give the game's plot a nice intermission and shed new light on the plot of Squall's present-day timeline. Alright, we've reached Final Fantasy XIII's Saz. I have a lot of strong and mixed opinions about this game. Saz is a little bit of a stereotype with a pistol-wielding black character with an afro that houses a chocobo which seems too close to a chicken that as the series goes on is revealed to be a scantily clad woman. Aside from that, Saz's voice direction is pretty good and takes that edge off the depiction of what Square Enix was going for with this character. It's also nice to see him raise his son Daj as a single parent. I think we could always use more of that in games. It's really nice. I also want to give an honorable mention to the hottest guy in the game, and by that I mean Godot. He may be ambiguously brown and not a part of the main cast, even though we should have been able to trade Hope and Vanille for LeBro and him, but I digress. Also, time of recording, there are rumors that Square Enix may revisit Final Fantasy XIII in the form of a remaster trilogy or a remake. So keep an eye out for that, and let's hope we can improve all these characters, the gameplay, the story, the pacing, and all the flaws we complained about going forward, because this game really did have a lot of potential. Another game I'm working my way to getting around to is Saga Emerald Beyond. Obviously, I'm a fan of the Saga series. Much like Suikoden, I like having a variety of characters to choose from over having a locked party in my RPGs. It's just a preference, but not a deal breaker. The Saga series is known for giving you the freedom to not only choose your character, but also your party members, so your experience always feels very personalized. In this entry, I peeped all the playable characters while simultaneously not spoiling my experience for when I actually do get around to playing the game. And some of the standouts were, we have Warrior, who speaks in rhymes and calls himself a poet while kicking butt. And my favorite from this list thus far, Emily Bryant, who is an idol and fashion model. I really adore her already. Then there's Professor, who is researching a mysterious disappearance of elements on Crow Realm. I cannot wait to play this game. Even the worst and niche of the Saga games really keep me coming back for more. Even if it's just the art style alone, I am here for it. Next, we have the interesting case of Xenosaga. It has been ages since I've played the Xenosaga games, but let's start with Helmer. He's mainly a political figure and appears in all the entries of the series. Next is where things get a little bit more debatable with Chaos and Telos. In the past, Chaos was Yeshua and Telos was Mary Magdalene. Mary is depicted as a dark-skinned woman, and Yeshua in the Bible has been debated as Black Hebrew due to being described as having hair like wool. Whether that wool is the texture of the hair, or wool the color of white is up for interpretation, or the version of the Bible you read. Either way, I think we all can agree he probably didn't look like this. But if you haven't checked out Xenosaga, please give it a go. I highly recommend. Up next, we have Ash from Stranger of Paradise, Final Fantasy Origin. For those who know, the reveal for this game was terrible.
When are we gonna fight Chaos? All I care about is seeing Chaos dead.
So I'm not even gonna lie, I didn't even give this game a chance based on that alone. But one of our leads is a man named Ash, who is the holder of a crystal, who is on a quest to stop
Chaos.
But real talk, is this game worth trying out? Am I sleeping on a gem? Let me know in the comment section below.
Looks like Chaos has been waiting for us.
Up next, we have one of my faves, the Parasite Eve series. The first black character you meet is a detective named Daniel, who is the partner of the game's lead, Aya. He also has a son named Ben in the story as well. In the sequel, Parasite Eve 2, Aya works alongside Rupert as they both work for the organization Mist. Unfortunately, this may be the end of the franchise given how terribly the third entry was received, but I absolutely recommend the first two entries. This really feels like the middle ground between Final Fantasy and Resident Evil, and that's why I love this game. Up next is a fan favorite, Kingdom Hearts. It's an interesting one when it comes to black representation. We're first introduced to one of the series' antagonists, Ansem, Seeker of Darkness, who I vividly remember having darker skin on the PS2 than how he's depicted in subsequent remasters, sequels, and all of his respective incarnations and versions. So I may have to put him in the ambiguously brown category, but as for the black characters, we have, on the Disney side, Tia Dalma from the Pirates of the Caribbean, and Wasabi from Big Hero 6. We also have Esmeralda, who is said to be a black gypsy by the fans and in Disney's live musical performances. And the series would later go on to introduce us to Vidar in Kingdom Hearts Dark Road. I'm kind of surprised though, because time of recording this video, we never got Princess Tiana. But many fans are speculating that she may be one of the new Princesses of Heart alongside Kairi, Elsa, Anna, and Rapunzel. So I guess we'll have to wait and see going forward. Fun fact, it was recently revealed by the director that Kingdom Hearts was inspired by African-American icon Robert Johnson and his lore about how he became a legendary musician through darkness. So we all owe Black history for the inspiration of Kingdom Hearts. This next one is from the 3DS era with Melusine. She's a mini-boss from Bravely Default. I love this game for its epic plot twist, and while it doesn't feature many black characters aside from this charming succubus variant, know that I didn't forget about her, and she had one of the best character designs from this game. She was giving black girl succubus before Dralta made it hot for the masses. Next up is the most prominent black woman in Final Fantasy, and that is Fran alongside the Viera. While the Viera, a race made up of black women with rabbit ears who are found in Ivalice, are introduced in Final Fantasy Tactics Advanced, Fran is introduced in Final Fantasy XII. In XII's storyline, Fran is a Viera who leaves her forest village to become a sky pirate alongside her partner Balthier. She's also the most recognizable Viera in the series, the same way Vivi's the poster child for the Black Mages. She's appeared in many entries from Final Fantasy XII's sequel, Revenant Wings, the Dissidia spin-off series. She's also playable in the music game Theater Rhythm, alongside many other cameo appearances. Most notably in Final Fantasy XIV, where Fran continues her Ivalice storyline by tying together some of the Final Fantasy game arcs, including 14, Tactics, and 12. Also, random fun fact, you may also recognize Fran's voice actress, Nicole Fantal, as she's in the beginning segments of Queen of the Damned as one of Lestat's fangirls. Imagine being a part of Final Fantasy and the Vampire Chronicles series. You go, girl! Let's move on to the Viera. It's really because of them why I made this video to begin with. The Viera debuted in Final Fantasy Tactics Advanced mainly as a race of black women with rabbit ears in the beginning. A notable example of this was Shara, who is a Viera in the Ivalice world, but is reverted back to her original appearance in the real world, with her counterpart being a fair-skinned woman. There is a sub-branch called the Full Viera, which are essentially a biracial race with the Agel, but in games like Final Fantasy XII, we have Fran, Jote, Midjern, Kijern, Keetigen, and Reledge. Then there are the Viera from the Tactics series, like Alice, the Witch of the Ferns, Vess, Cyrened, Elut and Valentine of the Primadonna clan, Rouge, Verre, and we also have the Viera units in Crystal Defenders alongside their many other appearances. But here's where things get a bit interesting. In Final Fantasy XIV, the Shadowbringers expansion introduced the Viera as a playable race, and during the reveal trailer, they were most notably all fair-skinned. And in the Shadowbringers story arc, most of the Viera that do play a role are fair-skinned as well. They've even included male Viera as a playable race as well. In a perfect world, this is a good thing. Everyone, no matter their skin color, should be able to live out their fantasy as a rabbit folk. The only issue is, with the exception of Fran, Final Fantasy XIV dialed back the Viera as a black race almost entirely during the Shadowbringers expansion. And when black characters in Final Fantasy are never really leads or don't consistently have spaces made for them, it's inappropriate to make space for fair-skinned characters in the story while simultaneously dialing down the most notable black group of people in the series. And making space for black characters in medieval fantasy has always been a point of contention for some reason. Take Lord of the Rings, for example. When black characters were introduced, there was a lot of gatekeeping involved by quote-unquote fans who felt they didn't belong in that type of story or world despite it being fantasy. I also remember playing D&D Neverwinter, and the Sun Elf sounded interesting to me, and to my surprise, the race was exclusively white that had every shade of fair skin in character creation, but Sun Elves were not allowed to be black. So while us black fans can welcome others of all races to be Viera, please include us the same way you welcome other fair-skinned players, characters, and fully realized stories in these games. I really want to get this rant off my chest, and it was the entire reason I made this video to begin with. And on the topic of Final Fantasy XIV, that's a perfect segue. Final Fantasy XIV has black characters sprinkled throughout it, myself included. We touched on Fran's inclusion in the Return to Evilly segment, which bridges Final Fantasy Tactics, Final Fantasy XII, and Final Fantasy XIV. But from the main story, our standout is Raban. Raban essentially co-leads Ul'dah with Sultana Nanamo, and without getting into too many spoilers, he clashes with Ilbrid. With that being said, I'm confident there are more black characters in Final Fantasy XIV in the expansions, so feel free to let me know who they are in the comment section below. Up next, we have Sea of Stars. In this game, we have a few characters, mainly Moraine, the headmaster of Zenith Academy, and a lady pirate, Yolande. I'm actually going to start this RPG up soon with a friend, which is pretty cool because we don't always get co-op RPG games, so I'm looking forward to it. This next one's a bit of a stretch, and it's the Elvan from Final Fantasy XI. So all the elf-like people in Vana'diel have melanated skin. However, their facial features range from black to Asian to white to racially ambiguous. With that said, Square Enix would go on to whitewash the crap out of the Elvan in a 2019 updated video they posted on their YouTube. So while there are many characters in the story who are Elvan, like Valet and Roll, the entire race as a whole is now more ambiguous than ever. For what it's worth, I picked this race for my character because they were pretty and had the same build and skin tone as me. But for those who have played Final Fantasy XI, what do you consider them? Let me know, because I'm sure there's an argument here for anyone that has any shade of tan in their skin to see themselves in these characters. Next, I want to mention the fantastic characters in the diverse world that is Final Fantasy X and X-II's Spira, and its black and ambiguously brown characters. We have Blitzball players Jasu from the Besaid Aurochs and Abus from the Luca Goers. We also have Lulu's previous summoner. She was Guardian 2 years before Yuna. Her name is Lady Ginam. We also have Buddy, who is the co-founder of the Gullwings from X-II. And this list wouldn't be complete without Donna the Summoner. Donna is the rival of Yuna who steals every single scene she's in, and in the end, she really ends up becoming an ally to the party and the people of Kilika, and Spira as a whole. There are more ambiguously brown characters like Baralai, Lucille, and Rin that also deserve some honorable mentions here. Here I wanted to quickly list a few more characters that were a bit obscure to me. We have Devdan from Fire Emblem, Path of Radiance, and Radiant Dawn. We have Perel from Terranigma, and in Breath of Fire, we have Karan. In Xenoblade Chronicles, we have Othran, who is the head of defense. We also have Commander Gore from Shin Megami Tensei Strange Journey. And last from this list, we have Nami and Pester from Children of Zoark. Thank you for filling me in on these characters, because before making this video, I've never heard of them. And if I haven't heard of them, I'm knowing some of you guys haven't heard of them either. And there you have it. That's every single black RPG character in existence, and I couldn't possibly have missed one. But on the improbable chance I missed one, let me know who they are and what game they're from in the comments below. But seriously, I would like to consider this video a part 1, and I hope in the comments section you guys give me enough suggestions to fill a part 2 video, whether it's new and upcoming games or games from the past. Heck, or even every black character in survival horror games could be the next video. Which would you rather see? Let me know in the comments below. I read my comments section and always would like to know what your guys' thoughts are on these videos. Last thing I want to say is this video was a lot of fun to make and ended up being a passion project of mine. I wasn't alone though. I also want to give a huge big shout out to my friend Chris, who helped me put together a significant chunk of this list. Thank you for being an ally, Chris, and a good friend. You can come to the cookout. Alright, me Jinx, signing out.